Hello and welcome to another episode of Ringside Fracas. And look, it's a new year and we always have to bring you a big episode. And what other than, to review the year, who better in the scene to review the episode than with Gman. Gman, thank you for joining us.
Mate, thank you both for having me on. Man, look, I was looking forward to this, man. When you told me what it was going to be, reviewing of the year, I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. I love reviewing, as obviously that's a lot of what goes on my channel. So, man, I'm happy to kind of have a look at the last year in boxing, and yeah, because I don't really do awards on here, so it's nice to kind of be part of this one.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you on. I mean, obviously, with your channel, you've grown it to such a big extent, and you're a staple when it comes to especially the UK side, the internet boxing scene. And I've also put Gman's Twitter and YouTube in the link below, so make sure you subscribe. I mean, most of you here probably already are subscribed to Gman, let's be honest, but if you haven't, go subscribe to him because his videos are fantastic, and he's always uploading videos on anything, Anthony Joshua, Fury, Usyk, anything involving boxing, so you'll love those videos. And of course, if we're doing a review of the year, I have to have Adam joining us. Adam, how are you, bro?
Yeah, happy new year, guys. Happy new year to the Ringside subscribers. Looking forward to a very good 2025. But back to your question, Naeem. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been a good end to the year for us. I feel like we've kind of ramped things up in the last month or so, getting Ade on, and then getting Denzel Bentley on as well, getting Sherry on as well, and then we did the whole Fury Usyk stuff, and then now getting Gman as well on. I mean, it's been a good year, and hopefully 2025 we can kind of continue this and get on a roll. So let's get straight into it. I mean, the best way I feel like to review the year is to kind of and this is partly because I'm a teacher, so we kind of do this, is giving it a grade. So we'll go through our grades on a scale of A. Are we doing A stars?
I think we should do A stars.
We'll do A stars as well, and then A stars to obviously you being it was completely rubbish, but I doubt we're going to really say you, and our reasons for why we think that grade. So of course, G-Man, I'll come to you first. Your grade for 2024 and why you think that is.
This year, right, man, was one of the most fun years in boxing. If you think about it like this, going into every year, we always say we have like a wish list of fights we hope will happen. But like, if we get one of them, we're kind of looking at that as a good year. I went into this year thinking Beterbiev, Bivol, and Tyson Fury, Usyk. If we can get those two fights, then we're good. And we got both of them. In fact, we got actually three, because we got Usyk, Fury twice, and we're basically getting Bivol, Beterbiev twice. It's just happening to come into 2025. So for me as a whole, this year has been probably since like the earlier days when I was younger watching boxing, when it was so kind of, fresh in the mind, everything was just amazing. But this year, like being around for as long as I am and doing videos as well, this has been the best year. I would give this year a solid B. And the only reason it doesn't get an A is because obviously, look, we're all UK based. We love seeing the big shows in the UK. There hasn't been enough of the UK scene. Like, you look at Matchroom, the shows they have done, they've been meh. Frank Warren, yeah, he's done a good few. Ben Shalom's done a couple, but there haven't been enough big UK shows. And that's the life of boxing. Certainly in this side of the pond. The lack of them just keeps it out of the A for me. Because I love just being able to go to a show in London, or maybe go get the train up to Birmingham or somewhere like that. And, you might get one good main event and then a weak undercard, and everything is reserved for Saudi. As much as we love it over there, we don't want it all to be over there. I think we're going to see a change in 25. We're seeing a little bit of that now with Warren, especially coming over to the zone. But I think that's the one thing in 24 that kept it from being an A year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think, especially on the domestic scene, it's been lacking. And it's you can kind of tell that certain promoters have been resting on their laurels with these bigger shows, that we're not getting the domestic shows that we're getting. There are some people who've made moves this year, like the GBM shows that they've been putting on, been quite good. They've got top tier as well. There have been some level to it, but you're right, to an extent, British shows have been kind of, if we didn't get Joshua Dubois on the British level when it comes to what we've gotten on our shores, it's not been that great at all to see. And you're right. I think hopefully, and we're going to come on to it later when we talk about 2025, is that we need to see a change, especially because now they're on the same networks. Queensbury and Matchroom have a lot of domestic talent. It will be very easier now to match them against each other and put on some top fights. Like you said with Boxer, for example, they're starting off the year with Adam Azim taking on Lipinets, and I like that fight. I think Azim should be, he should be active, and then you've got Riley versus Chamberlain was there, and that's going to get a lot of people, on the scene talking. So it's going to be fun. But you're right. I think that side of things is a good point that you made out. Is that this year, while on the big stage, we're looking at all the big fights, and it's globally looks amazing. We still have to look at the lower levels and the domestic levels and the small halls, for example.
Just point, if you think of it like this, right? In previous years, right, maybe you would have like 2 or 3 or 4 big events, but they were like the big events. We've had a few more this year, but the rest of the year you have plenty of events in the UK, and some of them might be just on standard DAZN, standard TNT, but there was enough hype around it to keep people entertained. Whereas now it's like, if it's not the big event, you've really kind of got, like, I don't want to say nothing, but nowhere near as much. You're kind of constantly building towards the big events, and you've nothing to fill the gap. Like November was an absolutely dead month. What I think literally with the exception of Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, that was literally the only thing you could talk about. But the rest of the shows that we're on were just, people were just like, oh, all right.
Yeah, what you could counter is that Queensbury shows, I think the good thing that they've done is the Magnificent Seven shows. Those are really good. I think, especially if you design your product on that level as, look, let's forget trying to put, a prospect fighter in with a journeyman that does nothing with him. Let's try put him in with someone that will at least test him. So, like, for example, we saw Adelaide versus Soldakers. I mean, who the hell thought that was going to happen? But it was good that we got that fight because we get to see stuff like that. You get Bentley versus Pauls, very good fight to make at the British level. Even a Coley, I mean, getting him out there and fighting someone, if he gets a big knockout, and he did, that serves him very well. So it's good that they do this, and then they've got the Noakes brothers as well. They look really good as well. So
they do.
It's you're right. I think that's one thing that we need to look at, especially for next year, which we'll talk about. Adam, your grade for 2024.
Yeah, so I mean, echoing Gman's points there. The way boxing is shaping, it's great that we're getting the big fights, but I think us as British fans have been robbed of a few big nights here in the UK. I mean, you look at Alan and the Romford Bull. I don't know why I forgot his name.
Fisher.
But that's a fight that we've been robbed of here. Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark too. These, even seeing the Talma in UK shores. I mean, I think both of his fights this year were in Saudi, if I'm correct. So I get it. I understand. But as if I take a step back from being a UK fan and looking at things from the perspective of just a boxing fan in general, a world boxing fan, I'd have to give the 2024 an A, purely because of the caliber of fights we're getting. I mean, we've been spoiled. This is a year where we've had heavyweight undisputed after 2 decades. Beterbiev Bivol, the amount of undisputed fights we're getting here, and Riyadh season is really spoiling us. And I think another thing that's potentially happening is because we're getting such stacked cards, such good cards, it's like your dopamine levels are being taken up to here. And then when you're hit with the usual domestic cards, which aren't even that bad, it's like, I'm not getting the same high. So I totally understand that. And maybe going forward, there's going to be more of a strategy towards, I don't know, spacing out some of these super fights across the board and not all on just one card where we have to wait several months to keep things ticking. So I could see that changing, but overall, I mean, the amount of fights we've got in 2024, the way the 154 division has taken shape, I'm personally getting very excited with the emerging talent there. And even the newcomers of the heavyweight division, the way Dubois dealt with AJ, the way Italma is looking, there's so much excitement going into 2025. And for me, I have to give 2024 an A.
perfectly well said. I think, yeah, I agree with most points. One thing I would say is divisions I'll come on to. The thing that you're right about is the stacked part is, it's like, for example, February 22nd is probably one of the greatest cards we've ever seen. The one issue I would say is you could see a big gap happening because certain boxes now aren't available because they've all fought on one date. Like, for example, how good would Boatsy Smith would be in the O2? Let's be honest, people would sell that out to watch that.
Yeah.
They would watch that. How good would Jean Caballel be on a different card? If it wasn't so low, it didn't have to be so low down. If you put that as the co-main for another card, that could fill that up, for example. So that's one thing. Yeah, when you stack a card, the issue is it leaves a big gap because you could have done these ones as headline as well. They're not pay-per-view. You shouldn't, and like Boatsy Smith, I don't think would be pay-per-view. I mean, they'll try to sell it as pay-per-view, but they could do so well in O2 with the two of them.
100%, yeah.
But yeah, for me, my grade would be A- or a B+. I'm doing American style, but like that. So the good thing is the points that you guys echoed is, the Riyadh season events. I mean, when we're in Britain, we have to have one Wembley Stadium fight or one big stadium fight. Boxing's in our lifeblood. We've got a wealth of stars to use to fill that out. So we have to do it. I always think we have to do it every year. Like it should be a staple. Every year you should be having a stadium fight. And then obviously the Fury Usyks, the Better BF Bivens, the matches that we thought we were never going to get, and the winners of it. I mean, they look like the top fighters in the world. And you can even tell by the global chatter, boxing this year has eclipsed MMA, because in the last couple of years, it was MMA that was on the rise and more people were talking about MMA things. Now it's boxing. It's completely destroyed it this year.
A lot of MMA channels are trying to jump on the
literally
band.
He took the words out of my mouth. I see more and more of these guys. I'm like, mate, really?
They're trying to crawl back in, and we see them.
Well, we hear them because as soon as they say a few words about boxing, you're like, please don't. Just don't, man. I don't pretend to know MMA. You don't pretend to know boxing.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, because you had Fury and Ngannou, where all of them were piping up, and then you had Joshua and Ngannou this year though, and then that's when it kind of died down with the way he destroyed Ngannou in that fight, but also it's on a global level, it's doing much better. The issue is we have certain issues, like we say on the domestic level. I completely agree. We also have, for example, certain guys either over relying on Riyadh season to sort their issues and not really wanting to sort their own issues. Like for example, the middleweight division is still a mess.
Oh yeah, it's all over the shop.
No one wants to unify. People are waiting for Turkey to kind of spend his money for them to unify. Only now we're getting Shiraz and Adames, but for the entire year, no one did anything. Adames wasn't really fighting like that. He wasn't fighting top guys. Let's be real, who's Lara fighting that you really care about? Danny Garcia and Zarafa as a middleweight champion. Exactly, I'll be being honest. Then you've also got the 147 division. That's a mess. That's a complete mess. You've got Boots, who had offers to go on Riyadh season and fight, and he's turned them down. And it's like, well, what are you doing? Like, do you want to chase the big fights? Do you want to become a top fighter, or I want to chase the unifications? They're not there. Brian Norman turned it down with you. So like it's a multitude of factors. You've got the 140 pounds division. That's a crap show. You had Haney at that division, Haney Garcia. How did that? I mean, it was a big event. Well, talked about so much, went viral. But look at the aftermath. It's put boxing in kind of a bad light. The way everything's transpired, the drugs, the being overweight, the Osterine, the legal lawsuits now that they're putting on each other, and then also the fact that they're young fighters that are waiting for April to fight each other again. They're not going to fight again until then.
Yeah, no. But one of them is banned, and one of them till April, and the other one's like, I'm not going to fight till April. And the maddest thing, everything you mentioned there is Ryan Garcia's fault, and he came out looking like the good guy.
Yeah,
that's it. How did that happen? Only in boxing.
Like he came in overweight. He took the Osterine, and somehow everyone hates Haney that much. Where I'm still siding with Ryan Garcia. I mean, it's not like Haney has covered himself in glory with the way he's acted afterwards, which
No.
But it's crazy. It's like that's also put a stain on boxing because it keeps highlighting, like last year did with Conor Benn. It keeps highlighting this constant drug issue that we have, where it's not stringent. We don't have a consistent set of rules, and we're just doing what we can because it's just the money now that matters. It doesn't really matter about the principle.
And now fighters are finding ways around it. You know, you fail a PED test in the UK, my career's not over. I just won't fight in the UK for the next couple of years. I'll fight Dylan White. I'll fight in Ireland. I'll fight in Gibraltar. 2 years later, all right, suspension lifted. He was never even suspended.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And so you see the inconsistencies being highlighted all the time in boxing in the judging. You get so many bad scorecards all the time. Recently, there was a fight in Thailand for a WBC belt.
Yeah.
The guy won every single round, and he still lost the whole fight, 120 to 108, because the judges just gave it to him. It was pure corruption. So that is still prevalent in boxing. So that's why I think it's a good year, but we have papered over the cracks with the big events because there are still cracks in boxing. PBC is a big crack.
Massive crack. It has been for years, though.
Yeah, like Tank, let's be real. You're fighting once a year against Frank Martin and doing nothing. And then you're waiting until March to fight Lamont Roach.
Yeah.
Bringing him up from Super Feather.
Yeah, exactly. Like
not even just Tank. It's even when it comes to unifications. I mean, part of the reason why 147 is such a mess, trying to unify with title holders in PBC has always been extremely difficult. And it's always them that aren't playing ball. Everyone else seems to kind of be getting together now, and they see the bigger picture where, you know, Top Rank, Golden Boy, Matchroom, everyone's coming alongside. It's just PBC that are completely out of the circle now. And it's like, are they ever going to get involved, or are they just going to stand on their laurels until they die out eventually? Because things don't seem to be looking good for them either way.
That stable is literally, it's literally like little scrapings now at this stage from where it was 10 years ago. I can't see them sticking around much longer because, like, literally, like, Tank Davis isn't getting younger. A lot of the fighters who've been there since the get-go are aged out now, so they're not going to be around much longer. And then they've no one. No one's looking, even in America, especially because that's where no one's looking at PBC and thinking, yes, I want you. They're looking at Saudis and thinking, whoever's on good terms, that's who I'll sign with, whether it be Frank Warren, Bob Arum, PBC, hell no.
100%.
And this year was the start of their Amazon Prime deal. I think something went wrong behind the scenes where they didn't get the amount of dates that they wanted and the amount of TV time that they wanted. And that's why it was kind of, they had to loan people to Riyadh season for the Terence Crawford Madrimov fight. And, you know, they couldn't really get what they wanted. So it's very interesting to see how they navigate that this year, because it's having a TV network is part of a big thing, and making that deal work is, for them, especially the amount of, like we said, the amount of fighters they have on the roster, they need dates. You can't keep them out. You need to get them up there. So,
and they have fighters who could do decent numbers. So for Amazon, you think they'd want a Tank Davis fighting more than once a year because he brings numbers. Whether you like him or not, and a lot can be said about Tank Davis. I love watching him. I'll never miss a Tank Davis fight.
He's a bona fide star. He brings numbers, but he's just been very inactive. Obviously, he had the legal issues beforehand, but still, there's no excuse to have those inactivities. But yeah, look, that's the negative sides apart. We have had a positive year. I didn't think 2023 could be topped, but it did get topped, in my opinion, because we're getting bigger. We've got the bigger fights. We've got the fights that we wanted. Better Be of Bivol was the icing on the cake for me, because that was a fight I was waiting for years to see that fight, and it delivered. That fight really delivered, and we'll get on to Fight of the Year and see if that makes it into the cut. But yeah, it's been a good year. I think in general it's been a good year, and it's exciting for boxing. And obviously, Gman, you'd know this. I think across the internet, you've noticed the content for boxing has become better. Like, there's more people wanting to get involved in making their videos, tweeting, liking, sharing, or whatnot, making posts. Right?
There is, yeah. There's a lot more. I get like people reaching out to me all the time. No, it's not even asking me to go on, but just like, I'm interested now. I want to do what like people like you and Ade do, and I'm seeing that a lot more. I'm seeing a lot more people. Like, I feel like I'm having to push up my game, because it's like, well, now I need, to get the editing equipment and stuff, because I'm seeing people starting out, and when I started out, it was literally talking into an iPhone. They have the mic and this equipment already set up. I'm like, damn, they're taking it serious. They're taking it serious from the get-go. So that can only be a good thing. Listen, the more voices we have that are kind of away from your talk sports. My best friend Simon Jordan, me and him, we man, the fun we have, real good fun. The less the more you can get away from that, the better, I think.
Yeah, that's what the one thing I was going to say about the negatives of this year's is for me. I'm a hater. I'll say that, but it's worrying to see Talksport boxing, especially with the takes that they have normally and the way that they cover the sport. That they are, if we have to be honest, they are the premier voice for British boxing analysis and punditry. But when you look at some of the clips and some of the stuff that they say, you're like, how can you be paid this much to cover the sport, but you're not even doing the bare minimum to actually research and see what is that you're doing?
What reason do you think Tyson Fury lost? Well, he went to the ring with Mariah Carey. Oh, brilliant. Couldn't flip an edge. Oh, man. I mean, you earned whatever they're paying you with that one.
It's like if you ask Simon Jordan, have you watched a fight? Have you even looked at a replay of Usyk before he fought Bellew, for example? He wouldn't be able to tell you. If you ask him name a Usyk opponent before Bellew, he probably wouldn't be able to tell you.
No, he wouldn't. And he'd probably like look at that cruiserweight run and be like, don't know him. So he mustn't be very good. Like the cruiserweight one is arguably better than the heavyweight run. And this guy, it's just crazy. Like, I mean, what's crazy about this is that like Simon Jordan has seen Dubois versus Usyk already, and now he's still speaking as if that never happened. Like, oh, Fury couldn't do it. But let's talk about Daniel Dubois. Well, he was stopped in 9 rounds by him. End the conversation.
And he got like that low shot aside. I mean, he got absolutely outclassed. Anyone that watches that fight from a real boxer's perspective would realize that Dubois was never in it, in my opinion. So, yeah,
you couldn't even give him a sniff around.
Yeah, if you had to reanalyze the fight in terms of like how would you analyze this if they did a rematch, you'd give him the same chance that he did in the first fight. Like he's got the puncher's chance. He's a big, strong, athletic heavyweight puncher. If he lands a good punch, he could knock him out. But that's it. That's all you can really say. Even if he's more confident now. I always see them. They say, "Oh, look, Daniel Dubois, and he has made a comeback this year. Fair credit to him. But tactically, if you actually look at Daniel Dubois, he hasn't really improved per se. He just has more confidence to go after a fighter than he used to before.
And fighters have made mistakes.
Yeah, and I think going after someone like Usyk, it's not just going to be straight go after him and there you go, job's done. Usyk's always going to find a way to adjust and make you coming after him work against you rather than for you. So, yeah.
So that's that. But I mean, we've summed up the grades for 2024.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully 2025 improves upon that. It's always, we want to make sure the sport gets better and better. And so hopefully the next year improves, and we'll talk about the next year. But we have to come to the Ringside Awards. We've got to give our annual awards as we normally do. So the first award, as we always have to do, and I think this is one, it's going to be quite easy to say, Fighter of the Year for 2024. I think, again, this is one we'll all be kind of unified in terms of who we pick. But Gman, I'll come to you first. Who is your Fighter of the Year?
Easy one, Alexander Usyk, undisputed heavyweight champion, undisputed cruiserweight champion. He beat not only Tyson Fury, but like he had to beat the whole boxing establishment, and that takes some doing.
I mean, Adam, you're the Usyk super fan, so if you give a different answer, I'll be surprised. But who is your Fighter of the Year this year?
Yeah, I was going to say Tank Davis, but
Frank Martin, don't diss Frank Martin.
But Alexander Usyk, without doubt.
Yeah, same. I'm going for Usyk. What he's done, the fact that he's fighting a guy that's 50 pounds heavier than him, who can box. It's not like he's just heavier than him. He can actually box well. And he actually looked good in both fights. He looked better than he's done in quite a while. And then the man, like you said, the manner he's done it in, and the fact that it signifies that he completed boxing, having undisputed in the 2 heaviest weight classes, and then being European champion and Olympic champion and world champion in the amateurs. This is his year, and it just signifies all of that. I'll give a special shout out, and then I think Beterbiev deserves a special shout out. Stopped Smith in January, like that was outclassed him, like using the jab, and destroyed him, and then fought a very, very good fight against Bivol. Now, if you thought Bivol won, he might not be your Fighter of the Year, but he won. And to me, when I was scoring it, I thought Beterbiev just edged that fight. I think against Bivol, who is a pound for pound rated fighter, to get that win, I think it's probably the best win this year that any fighter has. I don't think there's any other fighter that has another pound for pound level name this year. So he gets a special shout out because he went and did that.
On any other year, Beterbiev would be, but that obviously just shows how good Usyk's year has been.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any special shout outs you've got, Adam?
I think what you said about Beterbiev and the caliber of opponent he beat would put him up for contention. But for me, it's still, of course, Usyk. Yeah.
Gman, you got any special shout outs to someone that you think should at least get a mention?
I would give a mention to Daniel Dubois. You know, I mean, IBF champion coming in here, didn't have a title, to beat Filip Hrgovic, take his O, and then to go in there, the underdog against Anthony Joshua, and it's not just beat and do a demolition job. You know, that you get a mention for that.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, yeah, that's good. So Alexander Usyk, fight of the year for 2024. Who was our fight of the year last year? I think Inoue was probably our fight of the year last year.
I think so. Yeah, I think it might have been Inoue.
No, Crawford. It was Crawford. How can I forget Crawford?
Oh yeah, Crawford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next award, Fight of the Year. So I'll start this one off. I think I've got loads of special shout-outs. I'm going to do the special shout-outs first, and the one that takes the cake. Better Be of Bivol for me is the biggest special shout-out because the level of that fight, no fight matches it this year. I mean, that's no fight matches it since Canelo Triple G2, in my opinion. Level-wise, these lot were nullifying their offense. They were trying to get their own offense off. They were locked in for literally 12 rounds, and it was a split 'em fight. You know, it could have gone, it literally could have gone either way. That was razor sharp in terms of how close it was. So because of the level of it, it gets a special shout out. The reason it doesn't win is because I think as a hardcore, I loved it. I think on a casual side, people would love it, but it just lacks the drama that you'd expect.
Yeah,
it was very closely contested, but there was never big moments in that fight. Really big moments in that fight. Another special shout out would obviously go to Wardley versus Clark 1. Fantastic fight.
Very good fight. Yeah,
I mean, these lot went to war in that first fight, and they beat the Mario coins out of each other. I mean, it was a good fight to watch. And I had concerns when they wanted that fight to headline the O2. I thought, but they delivered. They really did deliver, and they deserved that. But the one that for me I think is the fight of the year has to be Ortiz versus Bohojuk. That
that was epic.
On paper, we knew it was going to be violent, and even still, when I was watching it live, I was like, "What am I watching? How is this violent?" They were going at each other. It was non-stop action. Ortiz got dropped twice. Bohojuk was getting hurt time and time again. Ortiz was never stopping with the pressure, and neither was Bohojuk. And that was just violence personified. Like if you could play that fight 10 times, I'd watch it like concurrently 10 times. So for me, Ortiz versus Bohojuk takes the cake. Adam, what would be yours?
Yeah, so I've got 3, 2 shout outs and 1 main one. So the first one is, of course, Bivol, Beterbiev Bivol, sorry, because of just how high level the fight was. Maybe for the casual, it might not have been the fight of the year because it didn't have the chaos that Ortiz Bohojuk had. But it was just a display of boxing at its highest level where you're seeing 2 elite operators try to suss one another out. Both try to impose their will and their style to the fight and push the pace, fight the fight their way they wanted to. And it was just constant back and forth of adjustments and trying to figure each other out. And I thought in terms of the level, that would be my most highly skilled fight I've watched for the year. The second shout out is, of course, Virgil Ortiz Bohojuk, because this was just Dragon Ball Z fighting at its finest. Like these guys were going back and forth non-stop. Pause. But it was just constant. Like that, if from a casual, if you want to get a casual into boxing, just show them that fight. There's no one that could watch that fight and not be excited. It was just guts and glory on display, both going at it and a test of wills. And finally, the one that I'm actually going to give the fight to, just because more of a personal thing, because I had attachment to the fight, is actually Usyk Fury, because of what the fight meant. You know, the first undisputed heavyweight champion in 20 years, and me being a Usyk fan, to see him start off well and then not see how he's going to be able to win in rounds 4, 5, and 6, for him to make the adjustments and get back on top, and then do what he did to Fury in round 9 and go on to win it. I just thought, in terms of the way the fight went, the ebbs and flows, and how much chaos it had, it was just the perfect story in the shape of a boxing fight. So that's going to go my fight of the year.
Perfect. Gman, your fight of the year.
I think we're all kind of in unanimous agreement about our top kind of picks for the year, to be honest with you. I'm like that as well. But Turbiev Bivol, for me, watching it, it went by like that. But you're right. For me and you guys watching it, it was amazing. It was epic. But you knew it wasn't really going to have that drama, because both guys were just so skilled. You were like, I see it for the second fight. I'd be amazed if we see even like anyone get hurt or anything like that. So that's one of them. Fury Usyk, again, it had the first fight for those 12 rounds. It just had that story. You know, you were hyped for the first bell. You were thinking, oh, this is nip and tuck, because Usyk is landing a lot of shots, but Fury in a showboat and is that swinging the judges. Then Fury takes over and Usyk takes over. You're like, holy crap. Same with Boacek and Ortiz. You see a round that's going Ortiz's way. Boacek hurts him or drops him. You're like, what the hell is happening here? But for me, my fight of the year, I watched it live. I wish I'd recorded it live, because I didn't. I didn't think it would actually catch fire the way it did. Was obviously Wardley versus Clark one. That, to me, watching it, and I was like, I was thinking headline at the O2. Oh, I don't know about that. Not perfect. It was just the perfect storm. They had, oh man, that was, I think it was one of those fights where I kind of, in a way, I almost didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to catch fire the way it did. I thought, Clark might fiddle his way around, Wardley might come on, and it might just be a bit of a nip and tuck. I didn't expect what we got. That was epic.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfect. So even that first fight, it's interesting, because when we were previewing the second fight, we all had all these ideas and whatnot, and then me and Adam, we were at his house watching Better Be a Bivol the whole card, and when Wardley Clark happened, and the way Wardley dented Clark's face in the second fight was just insane. I mean, when they panned the camera to him, I was scared.
I didn't think he'd fight again.
No, neither did I. I'm surprised.
His face literally got rearranged, and they had an insane year. Like, for boxing, those two fights, I think for Clark especially, takes years off the clock. So,
and he's not got many years on the clock left anyway in boxing, so that's why I'm like, stick a fork in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. But yeah, that's our fight of the year, and then we come on to the next award, which is Breakthrough Fight of the Year. So a category for breakthrough depends on how you want to see it. Breakthrough for me is someone that you think this year has done very well. So, they've come through a certain level, whether or not they've won a title or they've come to a certain level. It's kind of up to you. There is prospect obviously after. So if you want to leave prospect as prospect, or maybe your prospect might also be breakthrough, you never know. But breakthrough is kind of who you think has come through the level and they've shown themselves this year and they've announced themselves. So G-Man, I'll come to you first. Your breakthrough fight of the year.
This to me was an easy one, because it's a fighter who to be honest with you, up until probably about last year, and I'm gonna say last year, I mean 23, so we're only just into 25. I thought was entertaining. I thought he was a fun fighter to watch, but I didn't see a great deal that I thought could go very far. But boy, has he changed my mind. That's Fabio Wardley. I mean, when he fought Adelia, I thought Adelia would win. I'll be honest, I thought he'd win. Then when they put him in with Clark, I think the first time round I was kind of edging towards Wardley, because I hadn't been that impressed with Clark. Obviously got a great fight. And then I thought, okay, Wardley should win. Like I was saying going into the ring, I was like, he should win. He should be a little bit better. I think he's got a little bit more to do. And then he goes and does, as we said, dents his head. And you're like, right, this like what? Whoa, maybe I have been missing stuff. I think that, and he's world ranked now. I think #1 by the WBA.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, if ever a breakthrough fighter came out, it's Fabio Wardley, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Adam?
I think Fabio Wardley was a good one, but I'm going to stick to my my guns here, and I'm going to go Serhii Boachuk. I think he's had a very good year in the way he dispatched Mendoza. Very dominant performance, and then of course involved in fight of the year potentially, arguably, a fight which I thought he personally won. But boxing politics and so forth, and then of course his last fight against Davis, where he just looked like a force of nature, just non-stop, relentless, and and I just think he's starting to gain quite a lot of fans. A lot of people are starting to take to his name, and he's got such a fan-friendly way of fighting. And with the 154 division starting to heat up a bit, I think he's cemented himself as one of the top fighters of that division, and I'm very excited for his 2025.
You two have given some great picks, and I'm surprised none of you has said this name. He's not my pick, but special shout out goes to,
I have a feeling I know you're.
Yeah. Adam will be shocked that I didn't pick him as my breakthrough fighter of the year, and the group chat will be shocked because I usually pick this guy. Hamza Shiraz. I thought one of you would say Hamza Shiraz.
I actually wasn't. That wasn't the name I was thinking. I was thinking even in defeat, Israel Madrimov broke through with that performance against Crawford.
Fair, yeah, that's fair.
I was going to use him as an honorable mention.
Yeah, for me, I thought the reason I was saying I think Shiraz is because I don't think anyone before this year thought of Shiraz as like the #1 middleweight, and now after Ammo, everyone's looking as like he's in it. Like if you're looking at the Adames fight, it seemed like everyone's favoring Shiraz.
Yeah.
If you look at the Janabek fight, that's a good fight, but a lot of people would tend to side with Shiraz in that one. So that's not my winner, but I thought one of you lot would say that. But fair enough. Now you guys have given some great picks. The other shout out I'll say is Murtazaliev. He's the way he destroyed Sue. Bloody hell!
That was out of nowhere, and I don't think any of us seen that coming.
No one did.
That for me, either Dubois against AJ or that was the best performance of the year. Completely clattered them and stopped them, put them down. So Murtazaliev also gets a special shout out because he had a fight with Jack Colkay this year, and he didn't look good. Like I'll be honest, he won it.
No one looks good against Jack Colkay.
That's true, and he won it, and you're kind of looking at him, and you're going, I'm not sure. Even when it came to the Sue fight, everyone thought Sue was going to win. I thought Sue was going to win. And now he battered Sue, and it's a fight where I'm looking like, if Crawford takes that fight, that's very interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting fight. Yeah.
But the one guy I want to give the award to, because I think, especially with Breakthrough, it's also about the story of the fighter, is Angelo Leo. I think he deserves a big shout out because for me, he deserves the award because, he fought in COVID and he won his world title then. And then straight away fought Stephen Fulton, at that time is Stephen Fulton. And he lost his title in a good fight. But Stephen Fulton was really on top of it. And then, what happens with those type of fighters where when you don't have the biggest backing, sometimes you just fall away with the promotion and then you get left to the lower side. So I think he took a break for like 2 years after 2021 and then made his return in 2023. And then this year had 2 fights on Pro Box cards, got knockouts on them. So earning his way to a world title shot. And against Luis Alberto Lopez, who looked like the #1 featherweight, he knocked clean out.
Sent him to the hospital and put him in a bad way.
Like to me, I think that was the end of Luis Alberto Lopez. Like I can't see him coming back from that.
I don't think he'd be cleared to come back after that.
No, and for me, Leo inserted himself not only into the title picture, he inserted himself as like one of the guys that could fight Inoue, for example, if he steps up to featherweight. Like that's why for me he's a breakthrough fighter because it is a kind of a comeback story because he was a world champion and then he lost it. But the way he's come back this year, 3 fights, 3 knockouts. He's really taken, and obviously he's someone that's going to go under the radar because of the weight class and the backing. He doesn't really have the backing like that, but he takes the cake for me because that this year is really good for him. Like how he's gone from having nothing at the start of the year, not really being in any pictures or anything like that. Now he's a world champion. He's got so much in front of him. I think he has to go to Japan to fight the Kameda, which is a big fight for him. And if he fights in Japan and he wins, could fight anyway.
There you go.
Life-changing money there. So that's it. Yeah, I think. Yeah, but yeah, we've said some really good picks for breakthrough fighter of the year. So shout out to everyone that we've said, because you really, especially this year, have used the year to kind of change your life and get yourself onto the scene. So fair enough to everyone. And then we come on to the next award, prospect of the year. This will be quick. This will be quick.
This will be quicker than his last fight.
Yeah.
Adam, your prospect?
Mine. Moses Atama, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You, man?
Moses Atama. Easy one.
Yeah. Same Moses Atama. I think the year he's had, spotless, stepped it up. I don't think he's ever even taken a punch properly in the last year. I think he had like 5 fights this year, 5 knockouts, and he's delivered. And he's to the point where he's going from prospect to contender now. And that's how you announce yourself to the world. Loads of people are raving about him, not just on the UK scene. I mean, we were doing it for at least a year and a half now about him, but now the Americans also kind of backing it as well. So that's
He is going to be one of the stars of this next generation of heavyweights, and he's only just turned 20 years old. I mean, when you have a prospect that he was 17 when he signed with Warren, 18 when he made his debut, you think, nice, we'll hear from him in about 6-7 years when he's finally stepping it up. 2 years later, you're talking about like world level. You're like, what? And this is not a guy who was, medaling at the Olympics. He could have, but he didn't. He chose to turn pro. It's crazy.
Yeah. And one reason why he also takes the cake is if you put an internet poll, who do you think win if they fought next? Who do you think wins, Anthony Joshua or Moses Atama? I can guarantee you Moses Atama will win that poll.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
all the momentum's with him. He's got the things to trouble him, and he just has that about him where it seems like you say, he's a superstar. It just seems like he's going to get to that level. Shout out to Abdullah Mason though. That's
definitely.
Abdullah deserves that. 5 fights again, 5 stoppages. His last fight, I think the reason why you might not put him as prospect of the year is because he did get dropped twice. But to me, that shows obviously defensive things that he has to work on, but he came back from it so well. His last fight was a war. It's one of the best fights I've seen in the year because they just went at each other and he stopped the guy. I think that's a guy, Abdullah Mason, someone we have to watch out for because he will make a lot of waves in that in the sport. Yeah,
and I mean, mostly it was good education for him. Him to go through that and to come back out. He would have learned more about himself than all of the other fights combined. So,
you'd rather see a prospect at the lower stage get tested and see how they react to adversity than them just steamrolling everyone, which could happen with Atama. We never know. It's like you steamroll everyone, and then when someone finally lands that punch, because it is boxing and that punch can always land, how do you respond to that properly? Because it's happened, for example, Usyk's happened to him multiple times where he's gotten hit by a proper punch that he's not expecting to come, but he's responded to it. It's like, how do you respond to that? Inoue, for example, when he fought Donaire. Neri, Donaire, when he broke his orbital, getting through all of that. Like, it's part of the game. You're not going to be spotless. Even Mayweather wasn't spotless. Took hard shots that he had to come through. So it's good, like you said, it's good education for Abdullah Mason, but is indicative that he needs to work on some few things. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. And then the last award, which is the favorite award, I think, for most people, Knockout of the Year. I'll start with this one. I think there's a lot of good shout outs, and I'll let you guys do the shout outs because I think you have the similar ones, the obvious ones. So I'll give a shout out to Osles Iglesias when he knocked out Shevchenko in 1 round. If you guys don't remember that was the one where he lands the lead right hook, and then Shevchenko goes to the ground, and he's literally he's knocked out, and he's just his arms are in. Yeah, he's literally clawing.
Saying that was crazy.
And from a lead hook, like he didn't load up or anything. He just swung, and that was it. So that's a special shout out. And Iglesias is someone to watch for because that guy is scary at super middleweight. But for me, it's the reason why is the context behind this is Lucas Bahdi knocking out Ashton Sylvie in 6 rounds. It was on the Jake Paul, Mike Perry undercard. So Ashton Sylvia's went to fight Floyd Schofield. That fight got rearranged. And Sylvia's a prospect, and Sylvia's the prospect that MVP have been building up, and he's quite decent. Lucas really isn't. I think he's managed by Phil LaGreco. He's undefeated, but he was coming up. And he was losing all of the rounds up until round 6. He lands that left hook. He lands a right hand and left hook. And literally Sylvie goes face first down onto the canvas, arms by his side, out cold. And because of the fact that it brought him back into the fight and won it, I think that for me takes the cake as knockout of the year. Because when you need a knockout, that's when you need it most. So I'll give it that one. Adam, what's your knockout of the year?
So I'm actually undecided. I have to. I think Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark, just because I've seen a guy's face get dented. It's possibly the first time in boxing, and I think that deserves a spot. It was just ferocious. I mean, that's when you look at a fighter and you think this guy could be seriously hurt. Thank God he went to hospital and everything is fine, you know. So that's one. And the other one, and one I like the guy, but I kind of enjoyed, was Anthony Joshua Ngannou. Now, I love Ngannou, but I enjoyed that so much because it's like it separated boxing from MMA. A lot of these MMA guys thought, you know what, we could chat to boxing, our stars could come in and do something to them. And Anthony Joshua showed levels. And for someone like Ngannou, who's fought in 4-ounce gloves in MMA against heavyweights and has never really looked hurt, for him to get his chin cracked in that manner, it just showed why boxing's #1 combat sport, in my opinion. And a bit of bias there, but beautiful for me. Glad Ngannou's okay, and you know he's come back from it and looked very dominant in his MMA fight after. But stay over that side. Leave boxing to the boxers.
I can't lie. Watching that live, I think that was the hardest right hand I've ever seen landed.
You know, it moved slow-mo for me. Like, I'm not sure if other people saw it the same way, but it's like Ngannou's come out, he's stunned. And it looked like AJ just ran for 3 or 4 steps, telegraphing the right hand there, ready. Like he's just loading it up like he's on hardest hitters with the machine. But and he just lands it, and it was a colossal right hand, huge.
It was like you were playing Fight Night and someone was AFK. You got a free right hand, boom, there you go.
That's it, literally. Mortal Kombat finishing.
That was insane to see. Gman, your picks for knockout of the year?
So there was a few. I like this fighter, but the knockout was just so sudden and it was one punch and it was so random. Was Munguia versus Bruno Saras? Is that you say his name? Yeah. And I think it's almost when you have a non-punch. 4 knockouts going into this fight, and you see a non-puncher produce a 1-punch knockout against the guy who had never shown a bad chin before, and it's flattened. In just the nature of it, I was just literally, and I remember, like, I knew the result, so I knew Munguia was that. But when you watch it, even knowing it, you're just like, no, I got to see that again. That was just, how did that happen? And that's got to be one of them. And I think the fact he's a non-puncher, you're just thinking, damn, because imagine if this guy really could punch, what would he be like if he's doing that? And then the second one, and I probably will give this, is it has to be Wardley versus Clark too, because as you say, I've never in my life seen that man look like he had a stroke. He literally had his face on one side with a big dent in his head. You're like, no, and it all happened so fast. You're watching it, it's the first round, the first couple of minutes, and you're just like, oh, he's stunned. Oh, what the hell just happened there? And you're seeing a guy literally, no, that's got to be it. I remember watching it live and I was thinking, why are the doctors not in straight away? Like, can they not see this? Like, can they not see his faces to one side? And like, even the referee was counting his face. I'm like, can you not see his face? It's to one side.
Yeah.
No, Yeah, so that wraps up our awards. I've also put out a tweet, and a lot of people have put their awards, and they kind of agreed with a lot of us. I think Usyk and Itama were the main ones that they kind of agreed with. And obviously, you'd expect, for fight and breakthrough that people would have their and knockout of the year, people would have their own.
Naeem, sorry, one quick one, upset of the year.
Okay,
we should get that out.
Yeah, let's do that. What's your pick since you're so quick?
Well, I think Munguia is one of them. Mortazaliev is the other. And personally for me, Anthony Joshua Dubois.
Okay, fair.
I don't think I put Joshua Dubois on upset of the year because I knew Dubois could win. I knew he had power. I just didn't think it would happen. But I think him just battering and walking through Joshua, yeah, that surprised me. But I think like us all, I'd never heard of Bruno Saras. Never heard of him. Who he was. I was thinking a French super middleweight. Well, there's not too many of them, and if they were any way prominent, you'd hear about them, especially a country like France, where if they have a sports star in some other field, you'd really. Tony Yoke is not that good, but we still hear he's still a big star there. So I'm thinking, all right, this is a little run out from Munguia and one punch knockout. It's not even just that he lost; it's the nature of it. To a non-puncher, you get knocked out with one punch. I still can't. I can't. And you had a fight with Canelo where you lost it, but you had your moments, and then you go and get one punch knocked out by this guy. What the hell?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the Munguia fight simply because after that Canelo fight, like you said, a lot of people are thinking, oh, once Canelo retires, Munguia looks like he could be the one to get a title and become a world champion there because he showed a good account of himself. And also, he battered John Ryder really good.
Beat the living crap.
And he's had a decent run. He just hasn't gone for a world title in such a long time. And Bruno, like you say, non-puncher, hasn't stepped up the level at all. Undefeated, but like that was Munguia's homecoming as well. That was in his hometown. They hired out a stadium for him to fight, and he got knocked out completely. It has to take upset of the year just because no one expected that happening. I mean, people were looking at Munguia fighting in Billy in next year, and they were looking at the bigger fights to happen for him. They were looking at the world title fights. Like this was a fight that they just stay busy, and I agree. You should have stay busy fights. I'd rather you have a stay busy fight than not have anything and just be inactive. But whatever happened, he looked poor that night, and Bruno was trying to land that punch all night. He just found it in that moment and knocked him clean out, and it takes the cake because no one. I think if you asked every single person that was watching that fight or previewing it, could you see Bruno Sarace knocking him out? No one would tell you yes. Not a single person would say, yeah, I can see him knocking him out. No one would.
A lot of people would have said, who the hell is he? And they'd be considered hardcore, like myself, and we'd be like, I've never heard of this guy. And the footage of him is kind of scarce. You look at his box rec, there's a lot of close decisions there early in his career. You're like, oh, this is light work from Munguia. And then that happens. Yeah.
And he got dropped in the second round by a left hook from Munguia. Everyone thought
hurt real bad, yeah.
Yeah, everyone thought, oh, this is routine. Yeah, he's gonna knock him out at some point, and bang, knocks him out. So,
boxing.
That is boxing, and they have to run the rematch because he has no choice. Munguia, he's got
100%.
He's in no man's land after that loss.
But and even then, if he wins that back, it's like every other fighter will look at you and go, if I touch you, you're dead.
Yeah.
If this guy can knock you out, I'll knock you out. So,
exactly. Berlanga be thinking, oh, easy. All I have to do is tap you.
Yeah. So at least then we'll get more fights that way. So let's see.
Definitely.
But yeah, that wraps up the awards. It was a good award session. We've had some good winners and some unanimous winners, and obviously some winners that we've had we've been split on. But yeah, good year. And now we roll on to the next year, which we hope is an even better year, 2025 for boxing. So, this is kind of what we're looking forward to. So I think the biggest thing I think we're all looking forward to is probably February 22. Better Pivotal 2. You also have Zhang versus Caballero, Boatsi versus Smith, Adames versus Shiraz, Shakur versus Schofield, and Dubois versus Parker. One of the biggest and best cards I've ever seen in my life. Gman, how excited are you for that?
Oh man, you know what? Every time someone even talks about the card that brings them fights up, it brings a smile because you're just thinking that's all on one flipping card. It's going to be a late one, even though it's going to be on in Saudi. I can't say that card is going to go on late 100% because that is just, man, I can't wait for it. I know it's only early. We're 2 days into the new year. but we've got fights coming up in January, not that many. But when you look at February, the calendar month of February, if that's any indication of how boxing's going to be in 2025, we're in for a great year, because that month is just stacked. There's not a week where there's not a fight or a decent fight. Azim at the start, Chisora versus Valaine, and it culminates in that in the Feb 22nd show. It's mental. And we've got a March Riyadh show, which has not been announced yet, but we will have one.
And we've also got Benavides Morel, which is an insane.
And we've got Benavides.
You say that as well, yeah.
Yeah, so that's gonna be insane. Adam, I think it's gonna be interesting Feb 22nd, because we're gonna have to figure out a way to watch it, but we have to get a lot of hours to watch that.
Definitely gonna need the snacks on display, new tropics, everything. Like 12 rounders is gonna be crazy. Crazy focus needed. But I can't wait, man. That's gonna be one heck of a show. I just hope we don't take it for granted, because having all of these fights all on one card is just, it's overkill almost, isn't it? So, but I'm not complaining.
You know what came to me? You know how like wrestling does WrestleMania, where they put all the top guys on one event? I feel like boxing should do that at some point, where once a year you put all the biggest fighters that you can get on one card, and then it just gives some people something to be excited for. We're like, okay, we've got this date, we've got this time, this is what we're gonna do every single year, and so whoever's free, we're just gonna get them onto that card. Like this card is our WrestleMania.
That would be such a good idea, because it would be something to look forward to every single year. Do it every end of every February or the start of March, thereabouts. If you are one of the top fighters in the world, if you're one of the biggest names, world champion, make sure you don't lose in the calendar year beforehand, and make sure you are free that month, because there you go, you're in Saudi Arabia for the WrestleMania boxing. And that's what this show feels like. It genuinely feels like. I mean, you've Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker, and that's not even the main event. That's co-main. If you said that to someone, say 2022, oh, this is going to be a show that's going to happen, someone would literally look at you and say, like, what the hell have you been smoking or drinking to think we're going to get a show like that? And boom, here we are.
Yeah, I mean, when they announced that card, I was like, yo, that is like, it just looked it looked too good to be true. But then when the posters and everything came out, you're like how, like you also wonder on the night, how is it going to work? Like, it just doesn't feel real to see, for example, Zhile Zhang and Caballero go at it at like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m.
Yeah,
they'll probably have to do it earlier than that, man, because I guarantee you that we're going into the like 1-2 a.m.s our time, UK time.
Yeah,
with that show. So that if they don't want that to happen, because they've been speeding up the shows lately, they're gonna have that show start about 3 p.m. UK time. Because you're looking at that's easily an 8 to 9 hour show, easily with all those fights.
That's the entire day just of boxing, which I don't mind. I'm not complaining.
Man, I'm not complaining. There's worse things we could be doing than watching that show, man.
Yeah. The excitement for that show, the previews for that show, the videos around it is going to be insane. I think that you're not going to get enough content around that show when it comes. You know, our podcast preview, when we do it, is going to be insane. Your entire video timeline is going to be about. You could even break down each single fight as a video, and just upload that, and that wouldn't even be enough, because you'd still have more to talk about when it comes.
Man,
to that.
you could do a preview for every fight on the show, fight week, and still have another probably 8 videos to go.
Yeah,
with other things and reactions, and it's going to be epic. The press conference for that show is coming up mid-Jan, so I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait for that, and I think I'm wondering how many they're going to get to it, because I mean, I know they do them in London, but man, that's going to be a big ass desk full of people.
Yeah, they might do it. They might do it 2 separate, where they do one as the undercard and then one as like.
They did that with Beterbiev Bivol, where they did them at the start and then did 5v5 after. So they might do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's going to be a hell of a date.
Yeah, talking about that, I hope we get more of those type of events, because I don't really care too much about the promotion side of things. But for me, event-wise, I thought, especially for 2024, the 5v5 was probably the best event, just because you had 5 good matchups, competitive matchups, and they all delivered. They were all brilliant fights to watch. It never felt boring, and even though it was long, it felt good to watch all of them. Like, you weren't bored by any single one of them. So
it went on late, but it was great. No one complained about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're looking at stuff like doing UK versus USA, which would be a brilliant idea to do. We might get smoked, we might win, depends on the matchups, but You also have
I'll be a bit worried about that one, man, to be honest with you. That record against the US ain't great.
No, it isn't. But maybe if you do the heavyweights.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. Well, they are easy. Yeah, then, that's easy.
Yeah. But then you've also got, they're looking at doing Queensbury versus Matchroom again. They're looking at doing Golden Boy.
Has Eddie Hearn not had enough pain? Seriously?
Oh, he's been getting flogged this year. He needs a better 2025.
The Riyadh money, the best painkiller, I'll tell you that.
He says this is the happiest he's been in his career, with the tear just rolling down the side of his cheek.
Exactly that.
It's fine. Use the bills to wipe the tears away. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. Like, there's so much going on. Obviously, we've got Queensbury going to the zone. I think that's quite interesting because it seems now like a lot of promotions are kind of moving that way, because Riyadh season last year did, and this year in 2024 announced that the zone is their provider going forward for things.
From April, he's already been in, Frank, to the office in the zone for a meeting, so he's already met everyone, and he's gone.
And Top Rank deals coming up as well with ESPN, so that's also the thing. So it's going to be quite interesting. What do you think about all of that? About everything going on the zone and kind of moving that way?
Ben Shalom and Sky's deal's ending this year. Yeah, he doesn't need to renegotiate. Could he decide, the hell with this?
Yeah. Well, what's your thoughts on that? Everything going to the zone?
Well, obviously, it's a benefit for me, because obviously I do a lot of work with them. So all I have to do, I can get access. I don't have to use promoters anymore. I can get access to everyone just with a text. But yeah, look, I can see the positive, but I can see the negative in it as well. You don't want a monopoly at the same time. PBC tried to do that. And look how that went. And it wouldn't be the same, because the zone wouldn't do it like this. But you do want some, you want some variety, you want some choice, I think, for certain fighters. I mean, like, you look at some of the fighters like Joshua Buatsi, who they left Eddie Hearn because they didn't want to fight in the zone. They wanted the choice. They wanted to fight with Sky because Sky had done a better job for them. They like the brand, they like the product. And if you take that choice away, it's like, well, I'm stuck now. I've got to fight in the zone. I've got to put myself, so to speak, at their mercy, where it gets rid of the choice, I suppose. And then what does it mean for, look, I might not be the biggest fan of, Sky or TNT, necessarily their commentary team and stuff, but, it's something different. It's boxing's gone from TNT, it's gone from Sky. Then you're kind of like, well, what else is there on there? And, I was someone where I remember the early, like not the early, but the pre-Matchroom days in Sky, where it was everyone. It was Frank Maloney, Dave Colwell, Frank Warren. I think Barry Hearn did a few shows. I think Mick Hennessy did shows. Do you remember, like that? I like that. I don't mind that.
Yeah, it's interesting, because for me, I think it's good for, like, us, for example. We get everything on one, like you said, you get everything on one platform, so then you can just subscribe to that and you got everything there. Yeah. The issue, I say, on a bigger scale would be that the zone would then have to go and get stuff like the Premier League. They would have to get, if you're looking at the American side, they would have to go and get NFL, basketball. You have to get the national sport of the country that you're in, because that's what will push boxing, because boxing is still not at that stage. I don't think it ever will be, that football or national football, American football or basketball's that where it's such a huge level, and then they can use that to promote boxing, because you'll see Jamie Carragher and then talk about it on Sky and that not. And so if you do put it on one platform, but you don't get the backing of the other sports, for example, then you struggle with the casual side of things to really promote those fights and get them going.
Thing like this, if you've nothing on next weekend, and say you're a United fan and there's a game on, you don't fancy watching it, they're not playing until Sunday, you're watching their Saturday late 5 o'clock game, and you get an advert for Fraser Clark, Fabio Wadley, hypothetically, last year. I'll watch that instead. Yeah. You're not going to get that now.
Yeah. And so that's the key thing, that because DAZN it's been, obviously they've been trying to get the Premier League rights since they came into the scene, but obviously in the UK it's quite monopolized when it comes to it. TNT and Sky,
very much
stranglehold. They even kicked out Amazon recently for the next 4 to 5 years. So.
Yeah, it's sad thing to see. I actually enjoyed the Amazon coverage as well. But...
Yeah, so that will be interesting to see how that goes forward. I think the first year everyone will have fun, but we'll see kind of going forward. But the good thing about that DAZN deal is, like we were talking about earlier, is we will see more. We should, on paper, should see more collaboration on the lower level side of things.
Oh yeah,
on, domestic fights, on English fights, on English title fights, on area title fights, even whoever the prospect is that they have, they can match them up much more easier now because there's less of the politics involved.
Exactly. And it's not just Frank and Eddie, you've obviously the GBM shows as well, so there's more on there. So, you could see some of their prospects in with a Matchroom or a Queensbury. So in that sense, it's a great thing. As the same with Bob Arum goes over there, more of his fighters. There you go. No issues.
Yeah, exactly. And also this year, it will be our first year without Michael Benson. Goodbye, Michael Benson.
What do you do? I mean, I can't believe there are parody accounts for Michael Benson and flipping people believe them.
Well, that one parody account is getting...
And it has parody written on it, and they still flip and believe it.
It's getting everyone. Oh, my God. It just shows you misinformation spreads so much faster than the truth. So, yeah.
It has parody on the flipping account, and they still believe it. I can't get... I don't know, man. Deontay Wilder retired. Yeah, he did. Yeah, really.
You got big accounts like quote tweeting it. Like, for example... The Deontay Wilder, I think Stephen A. Smith must have quote tweeted it.
Yeah, he retweeted that as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, he's got you, mate.
And you wouldn't expect it from him because he's meant to be a journalist, and journalists check their sources before they start saying anything. But that guy's been catching out everything. But it's been interesting without when obviously Michael Benson's left the scene now, his accounts turned into the Ring magazine, and
they must have got, man. Imagine literally just copying and pasting everyone's work, and now he's retired.
Yeah,
that's the dream, isn't it?
I don't think he's retired. I think he's still working, but with the Ring.
I would say he got an absolute bomb for that account.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the thing. When you get a bomb for something like that, and you're made to continue working, are you going to have the same hunger? Are you going to go about things the same way? I don't know, but I mean, moving on, I'm excited to see what the Ring does. I mean, it's clear that Turkey is someone with big aspirations, and he's going to be pumping a lot of effort, time, and, of course, money into that venture, because I've seen him state it's like a personal thing for him, separate to Riyadh season. He's looking to put on the Ring shows, like, away from Riyadh. So a couple things to look out for.
I know a few things that are in the pipeline for the Ring, and I know how do I say it? They're looking at doing things a little bit different than, say, other people. They're looking at they're not looking at your typical kind of things. Let's just say they're not looking at Simon Jordan. Put it like that.
Well, thank God for that. Thank God for that. Do you know what? That's another point I wanted to bring up, actually. With boxing, with it being mostly a casual sport, people like TalkSport and Simon Jordan being the main voice and the main platform for boxing in the UK, when you have an audience that doesn't understand the sport entirely and they kind of rely on a professional voice to kind of give them guidance and insight into what's happening, and then you're getting bombarded with the fucking horse shit from TalkSport, it's a bit of a problem going forward. And I hope another platform kind of rises up with people that actually understand boxing, that can kind of sway the casual away from TalkSport. But it will take a lot of work.
It'll take a lot of work. I think with Simon Jordan, it's so out there that even a casual will probably be like, is he serious? Like, when you say stuff like he didn't win because he was playing the Mariah Carey, I mean, even a casual will be like, what that's stupid. I've
heard a couple of TalkSport call-ins. I'm not sure, man. Some people are really dumb. Some of the viewers there anyway, but that's not Gman's opinions. It's purely mine.
I mean, yeah, with that, I think that's what, you have to. That's why you have to improve, especially when it comes to our accounts and Gman's accounts and Ade's accounts and all of that is making sure.
Whenever Simon Jordan says something stupid, I'll be there ready to tear it to shreds. Don't worry.
Yeah, so that's why it's important to have accounts come through where they are talking more and they seem more knowledgeable what they're talking about. They actually do care about the sport, because to my extent, I don't think Simon Jordan really cares about boxing. If boxing shut his doors tomorrow, he's off to the football. So it's just lucrative because he knows that there's a gap there and he can fill it. So there's that. But with the Ring magazine, I've heard that Turkey's basically said that's his own enterprise. It's not affiliated with Riyadh Season, and he's going to be putting on his own cards and boxing events as well as the Ring magazine events. So it'll be interesting to see how those kind of pan out and what we can expect from that. Because I'm not sure in terms of, is he going to try to make it one unified ranking so we don't have WBC, WBA, it's just the Ring magazine and that's it? Or is that the kind of move? Obviously, he can't do that straight away, but is that something that he's planning to do? It's kind of something we're going to have to look at, especially this year. I think it's going to be quite pivotal to see how Riyadh Season go forward.
The Ring is going to be a big one as well. I can't wait to see what he has planned for that. And one thing about it, you can bet the first Ring show, he's not going to do an average show.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be a big one. So we can look at that and say that's whatever it is, it's going to be a big show. He's not going to kick off Rings like a Ring magazine show with just the typical, here you go. Same with Queensberry's debut on DAZN. I can imagine that is going to be flipping. And there you go. That'll probably be a UK show. So I would imagine there's a good UK show right off the bat when Queensberry in April debut on DAZN.
Yeah, and I think because their last fight isn't a great one. It's their last one on the TNT is Ball versus Doheny. She isn't great, to be honest. So
I mean, Nick Ball, he win a world title just to fight TJ Doheny, who already lost his last fight. Brilliant.
At lower weight class as well. So
and a lower weight class, brilliant. He was hit so hard his back blew out. Pause.
But so it'll be interesting to see what the year brings, and hopefully we're off to a good start. See, this month we've got Inoue to look forward to, the rescheduled fight with Goodman. You've got Callum Simpson making I think they're looking at him as a kind of like a domestic guy that can sell well, and they're trying to really push him. So it'll be interesting to see how his career goes. I forgot who else is in January. I think that was it.
Jay Patai next week.
Yes, that's it. Jai
Oh
Patai.
yes.
That's a good, you know what? Anyone watching, it's on a random time. It's going to be at like 8 a.m.
Wednesday.
On a Wednesday. But if you are free, you should watch it because it's got good names on it. Opetaia versus Nika. Nika's, for a replacement opponent, David Nika's a tough fight to take on short notice.
Very good fighter is David Nyeka. A bit too soon, I think, for him to win this. But he'll be game while he's there.
Oh, 100%. He's 6'6", cruiserweight. He's done the rounds in the amateur scenes, won Commonwealth titles there. So you've also got Terra Moana, with as David Diamante would say, Terra Moana 3 times. Sorry if the furniture side levitating. It's not my fault, but and then you've also got Justice Hooney as well. He's going to be on the undercard as well, so that'll be interesting to see how they kind of fare. Because I think for Australia, you're looking at those 3 as like
they're the flag bearers.
Yeah, basically. Or Sky Nicholson, as someone put as their fight of the year for this year. I remember I saw an article about that.
Eddie Hearn in the chat, is he?
I was wondering who's going to make a joke. There we go. I'm glad it's not me.
Oscar,
get away with
it. Oscar made a joke and Turkey made him take it back. So, all right. So, I mean, this is the one I'm quite interested to see. A bold one. You can make 1 or 2 bold predictions for 2025. So, Gman, I'll come to you first. What's your bold take or prediction that you think will happen this year?
Ben Shalom to join DAZN.
Okay.
Ben Shalom to leave Sky, not renew his deal, go to DAZN.
Is there any other one, or is that the only one that you think of?
That's the only real. When it comes to bold predictions, I don't know, man. I'd be quite boring when it comes to that. I would say bold prediction, and the other one, Moses Atelma to challenge for a world title before May.
Okay, that's Adam, your bold prediction for 2025?
I don't know if I completely believe it because a lot of factors are at play. But it's a bit stupid. If it doesn't happen, then it is what it is. Caballero to become a heavyweight champion.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, fair. That's fair. I think. Yeah, he's he's one of the dark horses in that division. So it's quite a fair prediction to make. For me, I think Jai Opetaia will lose this year.
Ooh, that is a bold one. That's a bold one.
You know what? I think Twitter's got to you. I think you've seen people overrate him so much that you're starting to.
No, I rate him. I rate him.
Of course,
I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
I just like, obviously some people think, oh, I forgot who was on Talksport. They said, oh, Jai Patel is the only one that can beat Usyk now and whatnot. And I think everyone's kind of overrated because obviously it's the Hearn machine and that happens. He's a good talent. He really is. And I think skills wise, you probably rate him as number one at cruiserweight. I just think that Zerdo fight will be very tough for him.
It will be.
I can see it. I mean,
no, but the CBS fight, Zerdo really showed some things in that fight where I thought, you know what, you've improved.
He's improved a lot. Yeah, I've never been his biggest fan, but he made me eat my words that night, definitely. Albeit CBS was very limited and easy to fight against, but I saw some things in Zerdo I didn't see before.
The thing is, for me, Jai losing isn't an indictment on him. You lose fights is what it is. But obviously, with some people, it's like, oh, as soon as they lose, they'll go, oh, he's a fraud checked, and this one. Like, no, you overrated him because you didn't bother to look into what you were watching. Like we all saw the Breeders fights, and he struggled in that a bit. You know, he struggled.
Yeah. I mean, if we're being honest, does Jai Opetaia even make top 3 cruiserweights in Usyk's run? I don't think so.
No. Prime Breeders, Gassiev, Hook,
Dorticus,
even Dorticus given problems. Yeah, so yeah, that was a stacked cruiserweight division when you look back in hindsight,
and that was epic. That's why it was so impressive. He didn't just clean out a weak cruiserweight division with maybe one good guy. Every one of them was a good cruiserweight, a solid cruiserweight, and Breeders an all-time great cruiserweight.
100%.
Yeah. So that will be my bold take. I think I'm supporting him. I think he's really good. I just don't. I just can see a fight not going the way he thinks it's going to go, and then he just loses. But he might, win on the rematch. I do want to see that Zerdo fight. That would be really.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be epic.
That is the number one, because especially Zerdo. He had a shout out to him. He had a great 2024. He took on 2 cruiserweight world champions, beat them both, took their belts.
By the way, how good is Bivol to beat up Zerdo, a cruiserweight division champion, in the way he did? When you look in hindsight,
Megan,
I think that's his best performance I've seen overall. In terms of I thought it was very good fight. Yeah.
He outboxed him, and he also bullied him as well.
Yeah, someone that's and you look at Bivol, if we're being honest, he's a blown up 175er. He's someone that could easily make 168, and for him to bully the big guy in that manner, crazy.
Look, so our bold predictions there. This clip might come back to bite us in the butt, but
I don't think mine are that bold. I think. I was quite conservative on those.
I don't think most of our viewers stay till this time anyway, so they might have gone under the carpet.
It's been a great year, and I hopefully this year brings more for us, for you, Gman, as well. We hope to see that your subscriber rating and everything else 10 times or 10 times the amount that you already have now.
Same with you guys, mate.
And the opportunities in the boxing space in general as well. So
everything
across everything, man.
And you can just tell that this year, especially with the introduction of more events and more boxing, that there's always going to be more opportunities. And hopefully for everyone out there that we get a better year, whether it's in boxing or whether it's in your industries, your careers, your lives. It's been a good year. And let's we've had a good start this year. Let's keep going. Thank you again, G-Man, for joining us. Really appreciate it. I would love to have you on again anytime during this year. And I told you guys, trust me, when I'm going to keep improving the content, keep getting the stuff out there, and this year we're going to be even bigger and better. So stick with us for the ride, and we'll see you next week for the next episode. Peace.